It's time for Crit Couch, time for Crit Couch. Here we go, we're gonna play a game today. Welcome back to Crit Couch. My name is Skylar.
Link disagrees. I'm Michael.
Wait, are we using that as the start?
Yeah, we are. Anytime you do something dumb, I use it for the start.
I don't watch our show. What are you talking?
Excellent.
It's like that tweet I sent you earlier. It's like, my dream job is to be the co-host that doesn't do any of the work but gets to be there. There's a note.
So this is what the map looks like, and yeah, it uses the same palette or the same icon as that.
Okay.
But here we pick it up, and now we can see this is.
Is there a world version of it?
There is not.
Okay.
Interestingly, the game actually came with a paper map that was not completely filled out, and it had a sticker seal on it. It was like, open this at your own discretion, because Miyamoto's whole thing was like, people should just go explore. And you can open it, but again, the map isn't fully filled out. It's mostly just like the southeastern chunk of the world is filled out. And that's one of my core memories of this game, was like my uncle and my dad sitting on the couch with that map open, and me sitting there playing, and them kind of be like, hey, what happens if you go that way, and check that out. And I was like, that feels to me like a proto version of what a lot of
That's so wonderful.
What a lot of modern online communities do. I think about when the first Dark Souls came out, or Elden Ring now, or
coming together.
where people get on forums or Discords or whatever, and they're talking about if you go over here and do that thing, that's very much a formative memory of cooperating and exploring in my memory. So.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, actually, because Spencer and I just had such a...
Spencer's a friend of ours.
Yeah. And he and I started playing through some of Elden Ring together very early on, and we were I would jump into his world, I would show him something that I found earlier, and then we'd jump in he'd jump into my world and show me something that he found.
Yeah.
And, we were going back and forth, almost trading secrets and stuff. Is that a bow?
It is a bow.
Or just a really weird D. Sorry, I just saw. Will that be on the recording?
No.
Okay.
So we can't use that yet because we haven't purchased arrows.
That makes a lot of sense.
But fortunately, unlike some of the unlike modern Zeldas, where you actually need the item to beat the dungeon,
little slidey spikes in every Zelda game.
In most of the dungeons here, the weapon or item that you get in the dungeon doesn't actually contribute to the boss. Can you walk
into the water or no?
No, we will actually come across a ladder later that lets us cross single blocks of water, kind of like a little bridge.
Okay.
But for now, we can't. One neat thing I didn't get to mention last episode, but when they built these dungeons, so you see we have kind of this bird eagle shaped map up there.
Built these dungeons.
The way the dungeons were, I'm just ignoring that. The way the dungeons were laid out in the memory of the game, they actually are in these blocks where you can overlap them like a jigsaw puzzle. So when you look at the map of this dungeon, there is another dungeon that will fill in a lot of those black squares along its sides. And there were a lot of memory saving techniques they used in this game. So you may have heard of the second quest. I'm not sure if you have.
The second quest?
Oh, look, it's a boomerang. The classic boomerang. Super useful. Stuns enemies, pulls items back to us from a distance.
Always fun.
Yeah. So the second quest...
I really liked the boomerangs in Breath of the Wild, but it's the hand guy.
Wall Masters.
Yeah. They just keep coming, huh?
At least until... there's always a finite number of enemies for any given screen.
Yeah, but finish your thought.
No. So... Oh, okay, so real quick, do you hear that kind of breathing?
Yeah.
So that is an indicator that you're near a boss enemy.
Oh,
so if you're wandering these dungeons and you haven't picked up a map, you can find out.
Okay.
But the second quest is after you beat the game once, there's basically a new game plus that has all of the items and the dungeons and stuff are all in different areas. Some of the enemies hit harder. Like the Stalfos actually can shoot like beam swords at you the same way that we can shoot them.
Jeez.
So they basically saved so much room with a lot of the techniques that they used in this game that they were able to like build a whole second set of dungeons. And actually originally, the whole game was just supposed to be dungeon crawling. And Miyamoto had an idea for putting a dungeon maker in the game to let people make dungeons themselves and trade between their friends. Wouldn't have worked in America because we use because we have cartridges, but in the disc system in Japan that they had,
They
you would
had
have
discs in Japan?
Yeah, the Famicom had a disc add-on. I've got one in my closet. But like, so one of the other like memory saving techniques, like you see how these blocks, like it's the same pattern repeated multiple times, right? These aren't loaded as individual sprites all the time. Like especially in the overworld with trees, they're loaded kind of in strips. So that was just like that's a very small way of describing how it's done.
That's because so do you remember that like little modular game thing we made for
tile or whatever?
Yeah, because we did it in like a week or whatever.
It was
my god, what is he?
This is Aquamentus. If you have not purchased the large shield, those things can be a problem, but as it stands, you can just sit here.
He's so goofy. I love him. I'm gonna stamp around and be all mad. Do we have to kill him?
I mean, the Triforce is behind him, so yeah.
Okay, bye, buddy. You were loved.
He's a lot quicker to kill with the white sword, too.
Yeah, I got that impression.
The bow and arrow is also a feasible weapon against him if you've purchased the arrows. But yeah, so the tile game that he's talking about was something we built. It was like a small, like quick, almost like Ludum Dare style kind of game.
Yeah, but the way so Spencer again, the way he actually built how we would like, it was something. I remember sitting there and playing it because I remember joking like I can read the Matrix now, because he built it to load in these like. He would load in the sprites by literally using text files. They were just like little layouts of ones and zeros.
Yeah, it was basically like an ASCII map of what the world should look like, and then you just said, okay, here's where this tile loads in, and so you could sub in multiple different tile sets for everything.
Because you could put anything from 0 to 9, of course, in one spot, and there were like a few different things. I think we only used like 0, 1, 2, 3 or something like that.
I think there were like 5 tile sets total that people had submitted graphically to like change it.
Yeah, it was fun though.
So that was Dungeon 1. We got our first piece of the Triforce, and we're kind of just spat back out to go. And going back to the
7 more units to find.
More units.
Yeah.
So going back to the open world piece of this, if you have the map and you open the map up, it like will tell you where some of the first dungeons are. You may have stumbled across them in wandering. Oh, you know what we can do? Because we don't have enough money yet to buy the defense upgrade.
What's the defense upgrade?
The ring. It makes you take less damage when you get hit. There's 2 rings in the game. One of them's in the final dungeon, though.
It's always that way.
Yeah, not always. There are some Zelda games where you get like the best armor like a little bit before. But yeah, historically, the first several of them, like I know Link to the Past, you also get the red armor in I think the last dungeon as well.
I really liked. And I know it. I don't feel like you could get it too early on, but I think it was like the magic armor in. Was that Twilight Princess?
Oh, is that the one that like uses rupees to?
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick.
Sure.
So we have our note. We show it to the old woman, and now all of this old woman's shop. So that one that we bombed like a couple episodes ago or whatever, she'll also offer this anywhere this old woman exists. She's omnipresent. Like, I don't know, there's like a quantum black hole into medicine.
Do you want Dayquil or Nightquill?
I make them out of my foot scrapings.
Oh no! We found the title for this episode.
Foot scrapings.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to talking about like that item list in the very beginning because
Yeah, sure.
Because I mean, you're talking about like there being like a map that it came with and stuff.
Yeah.
But I actually kind of love that enticement. And of course, I'm going to relate this back to Souls games because why not mention that every episode?
Yeah. Or like 5 times this episode.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Fuck it, play Elden Ring, go.
Just immediately die.
No, the
fucking Margaret.
I would actually love to. You know what? I was thinking about the map because you were talking about there was like a peely thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Elden Ring should have come with a map, and then you peel it back, and it's just a picture of Margaret going foul tarnish.
There's just a full-on foot comes out of the map and kicks you in the fucking teeth.
It's just his cane. But so I actually like that because it makes me think of some of like Skyrim did this. Of course, some of the Souls games did this, but they would have loading screens that have like tooltips of items in the game, and sometimes you would see items that like you haven't encountered yet, and so you're like, oh, what the fuck's a whirligig saw or whatever the hell, right? And it, like, without communicating anything, it builds intrigue immediately, and almost to the extent where, like, you brought this thing up on Mega Man X, and I'm only thinking about this because I just watched that episode a few weeks back.
We're lying about not watching our show.
Yeah. Well, actually, really quick on that, because like it's a brand new channel, so we're getting like 4 views an episode or something. Like I just don't want to influence the count. Like, I want
totally
it to be
fair.
pure, so
anyway, so this is like super bright blue. Anyway, the thing.
My God.
The thing I brought up in Mega Man X before you lose it.
Yeah, no, I still was able to get back to it. But you brought up like right in the main menu when he like shoots his little blasty blast thing.
Yeah, it shows you
it's like the charge blast or something.
Right.
And then you get in and you're shooting little like yellow pellets normally.
And you're like, how do I shoot that big beam?
Yeah, exactly. So, whoa, boy.
Yeah, so
snakes be like that, huh?
Well, so this is, every enemy in this game has some kind of movement functionality that is purposeful. They don't just wander around. Like the Octoroks look like they wander around, but that is also purposeful. The Octoroks are the weird little like rock-spitting octopi that are like all over the place, like on the starter screens.
You stunned them.
Yeah, that's what the boomerang can do. So these guys...
That's right, kids. If you see a cop ahead in the wild, throw your boomerang at him. I don't know what that accent was either. Or just stop time. That's really how you deal with snakes.
That's really how all problems can be solved.
That's what that lady at the end of True Grit should have done. That's a spoiler if you haven't seen...
A multi-year-old movie that was a remake of an even multi-year-old movie.
Yeah. With John Wayne. It's Rooster Cockburn.
Okay. But yeah, all of the enemies in the game, they have like very deliberate movement sets. So like the ropers, that's what these are called. Like when they see you, they beeline in that direction.
Okay.
Like the bats, like they're weak, but they typically come in... Like these guys actually use the boomerang. So
what are these mustachioed fellas?
They're called Gorias.
Gorias?
Gorias. Yeah, Goriya. So what happened there was a thing that happens on some screens. Sometimes there's an enemy. You have no way of knowing which one it is, but it's like the boss mob on the screen. And if you kill it, it will wipe out the whole screen.
Yeah.
But when we killed a room with 3 of those guys in Dungeon 1, that's what gave us the boomerang. And in fact... There's another boomerang in this dungeon. There's the upgrade, the magic boomerang.
The bigger boomerang. Oh, the magic boomerang.
It's just the bluer boomerang. The bluerang.
It's the boomerang.
But
Little copper babies.
So there's a couple. So this is actually the room.
How come it's always fish on the left, dragons on the right?
So that would be because
it's shooting at you.
That's because of the way they drew the faces. So remember what I was talking about, like saving space. That sprite exists that way, and if they were to make another sprite facing the other way, they would take up another slot. So anytime you see those statues, they're going to be configured left to right like that.
Palette-wise, you are not going to lose Link on these screens.
No. So this boomerang goes full screen.
Yeah, wow.
Interestingly, when you get that upgrade, all the Goriyas in the game get the same upgrade.
Oh no, so they're stronger too. What is happening here?
These are Moldorms, I think. They're
Run
worms.
That name
They're
by me.
Moldorm, I think that's what they're called.
Okay.
They're just big worms. They're supposed to be worms that are coming out of the sand because there's no background animations. The way they do that is they make each one of those little like fireball-looking things pop out of the game. Actually, that's kind of an interesting thing to note. The fireball arms in the original Super Mario, those were, I believe, actually originally designed for this game, but they didn't find a place for it in Zelda because they were concurrently building Mario and Zelda.
You're shitting me.
No,
Really?
but they ended up using those fireball arms for Mario instead of this.
God, here we are, almost 40 years later, still playing these games.
Yeah.
That's the legacy is just fascinating. It's so cool seeing like coming back to this and seeing all the things that like I'm familiar with even from my childhood. Like, yeah, my first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time, but I mean, there's still so many like prevalent thematics here that. Yeah, they started here, and I didn't even know.
Oh, yeah.
Of course there's a wall you can bomb. I guess if you had the map, you'd see, like, there's a room up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And next time on Crit Couch, we'll head up through that. Those cracks are so goofy looking. It's such like a clean edge around, and they're like, we need to make this look like there's actually a hole in the wall. So it just looks like it has little hairs coming off of the top of it.
Just like somebody let a plant go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next time on Crit Couch.
Thanks.